Welcome back. If you are just joining us on television, this is The Big Issue. It's your weekend review of the big stories. What a week. Incredible. State of the Nation address has been delivered. That was on Wednesday. Before that, the controversial e-levy was passed on Tuesday. On that same day, Ghana Black Stars drew 1-1 with the Super Eagles and qualified for Qatar. And the president was celebrating his birthday. He was in a good mood for State of the Nation. He thanked Parliament for passing the e-levy. One half of Parliament is not happy. We're talking about all of that. I have a very interesting panel. Well, it's commissioned. Okay. In studio is the man who just interrupted me. He's called Habib Idris, who is the Deputy Majority Whip MP for Tolon. We also have Samon Nate George, is MP for Ningo Pram Pram. And Franklin Kujo, who is the Chief Executive of Imani, is also joining us by Zoom. Engineer Mahama is in the studio as well, civil engineer. Let me come to you, Engineer Mahama. If you just joined us, we read the statement issued by the Ministry of Roads, which sought to explain the president's claim that 10,875 kilometers of roads had been constructed. Key point, the president said he had constructed 10,885 new roads. Explanation says this includes both paved and unpaved, distinctly different from the word built, improved, and upgraded. Engineer Mahama, what do you make of this controversy?
There's so much controversy from the president's speech, the response from the ministry to more or less try to massage or to streamline whatever the president said. In fact, I listened to the president today. And I'm just curious, like you rightly said, who are those who go through the speech before it is approved for the president to present to the state? Because I'm a bit confused about the figures which are... In fact, all the speech, the counter response from the ministry...
The response has even confused you?
Yes, Basa.
So the speech confused you, the response also confused you?
See, like Honorable Sam George was saying, we had these figures, the first one, which was the 4,263.37 kilometers, as at May last year. I think mid the press series. But before I go on, let me say this. Bernard, you know me. I've been in this industry for the past 19 years. I sleep road, I do everything road. I do buildings, but this is my domination area. You cannot, even with 20 professional contractors, finish 6,000 kilometers in 9 months. I'm coming from that technical point. With all the monies given to the contractors to do 6,000. Now you see Accra Central Post Office. It's what we pick our mileage from. Now from Accra Central Post Office to Paga, at our border town, it's under 1,000 kilometers. 6 times that should manifest in the system. You understand? Now, so if we have all the 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 budget, it should support this claim. Because when you are doing grading, upgrading, graveling, regraveling, rehabilitation, reconstruction, all these are major components. Like if you say you are going to do the reconstruction of Anko to Dobro Road, which is just under 17 kilometers, with all the money given to the most experienced contractor in this country, that's 17 kilometers, you cannot finish that job in 2 years.
Okay.
That's why I've seen their document that has been awarded to the contractor. It's about 36 months, 17 kilometers, because you're going to be confronted with management of even the traffic. You're going to do about 15 to 20 culverts. And one culvert, if it's a box culvert, that box-to-box culvert, it will not take you less than 2 months to finish. So assuming you have about 20 culverts in a 17-kilometer stretch, and you're even doing 5 at a time, which are about 5 gang of the contractor, you can only do one side, finish in about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, because the concrete has to cure within 28 days before you can start to do what we call the backfilling. Graded backfilling in at least maximum of about 20 mm thick. That's 200 mm. That's about 8 inches thick, layer by layer. So that when you finish that, you don't see what is happening around the doors where you only are getting closer to a culvert. You see that depression, that bump before you go across the culvert. So in doing even 5 culverts, you need not less than 2 months to complete one.
Okay.
And so when you finish that, you put the other traffic, the other leg of the carriageway, because you can only do one side, and then put traffic there and move to the other side. This upgrading, graveling, regraveling, reconstruction, I was just careful not to say that the president was intentional with it, because like I said, somebody wrote the speech for him. And I have my ears across the country and my eyes across the country because we have classmates who are on almost all these major projects that are ongoing. So if in 2021, May, it was a cumulative progress of work that has been done. If you look at the 2022 budget, most of the ones they are talking about now are yet to be mobilized. Contractors are yet to mobilize to site. You understand? So how did they quantify the pothole patching to be like 1,400 plus? Because you can only do pothole patching or spot improvement by isolating all those depressed areas on the road. That's why one usually see that they put this spray can paint, so that when it comes to the payment of the subcontractor who have done those works, you can equally measure because you will pay all those works in square meters.
Okay.
So how did they accumulate the spot hole patching to be 1,000 plus? So one of my responses said that it could be that because we know the width of our roads, which is mostly around, let's say, 7 meters in width, they might have just accumulated the, what do you call, the 1 square meter each pothole patching, join about 6 of them to have one width of the carriageway. And because they have multiples of those spot levels improvement, then they are multiplying by the length to get what they have. That's what I can use as you. Otherwise, you cannot quantify that into kilometers and say that that's the road you have done. Because you could do maybe just 10 pothole patching around Oyarefa.
Let me try and understand what we are saying. The man said, when the Amenfi guy asked the question, Oric Afo, and he went to Parliament to answer, at the time he said they had done 4263.
Yes.
He said that answer did not take into account ongoing road activities that had not been completed by May last year.
Okay.
Then he says, as of end of February this year, so that's 7 months after that answer was given, a total of 1702 construction and maintenance were undertaken on paved. So I'm coming. You add 1702 to 4263. 1702. Okay, that's 5965. I'm coming. I'm just putting it together. Then it says 4,910 had also been done on unpaved.
So the first one is paved.
Yes. So he's saying that the answer he gave earlier took cognizance of work which had been done up to May 2021. He didn't tell you anything about May 2021 to February 2022, even though he was giving an answer in 22. So when he adds work on paved roads between May 2021 and the February 22 is 1702, add it to the 4,263. So that's 5,965. Then he's saying, we also within May and February did 4,910 on unpaved, which has now been completed. So add the 4,910 to the 5,000. You have 10,875. That's how you arrive at that 10,875. So I just want viewers to understand how they came by the 10,875. The 4,263 was up to May last year. Even though he was giving an answer in 2022, he was giving an answer based on what they had finished by May last year. But between that May and this February, there was 1,702 work on paved road that he didn't add to that answer. Another 4,910 of unpaved. My question is, when you say you work on an unpaved road, what does it mean?
Specific.
Because I think that's an explanation that needs to be given, Abib, right?
Specifics.
Because if you say the road is unpaved, that means you probably just level the road.
Bernard, I beg you.
I'm trying to explain what the ministry is saying.
And I beg you, just in 2 minutes. No, I'm asking for 2 minutes. You just make a short interjection.
I wanted him to respond. Okay.
Just a short interjection. The reality here is this: the minister is not being forthright with us. Yes, this is up to May 2021. He answered this question on the 15th of February 2022.
Yes.
The president, and you asked how the president's State of the Nation's addresses. I've worked in the office of the president before. This State of the Nation's address, work commences in December. And that is even late if it begins in December. But by December, every ministry must have finished the office with their bits and pieces. And then the president's speechwriter takes it and weaves it. So if you read a speech, you realize that it's not bullet-heighted sector by sector, but it's been interwoven. So he moved from one sector into another. That's the job of the president's speechwriter. Okay? So they pick the various things. So they have time to do that. The president was supposed to deliver the State of the Nation's address on the 3rd of March. 2 weeks after the 15th of February. He can't be telling me, I'm not a kid, your viewers are not kids, that he appeared before Parliament 2 weeks before the president was supposed to address the nation. At least 2 clear months after he had finished the office of the president with the write-up, and he was still quoting the old figures.
So can I now?
What kind of anyazia is that?
That's an interesting point. But let's come to you. That's an interesting point.
Just to let my brother Sammy knows that you see, and Bernard, we need to be very candid in dealing with people and describing people. The road minister has been very truthful. I said so because one, he didn't come to tell us that the answer he had given that has to do with the 4,263 that he has deviated from it.
He stuck by it, but then explained the variation.
He explained the variation. And the variation in terms of the difference from June to December 2021 was 6,412. And in 2022, it was 200. And this is they are engineers. Engineer is here. Upgraded into brackets, that is DFR sport improvement. That is what you mentioned about the 4,910. Then within the same period, I'm talking about June to December 2021. That is what has been added, minus the 4,000 that the minister had. So if you put the 4,263 the minister had given in his answer, and you come from June to December 2021, on the upgrading, that is Department of Federal Sports Improvement alone, it's 4,910. Then you come to this one is called Transport Sector Improvement, TSIP. That one is 50 kilometers. Then you come to Sino Hydro. What was done within that June to December 2021 was 69 kilometers. Then you come to town roads, that is Department of Feeder Roads, and then DUR. When you add
urban roads, 122.21.
That's 122.21. And then you come and add the cocoa roads, mainly the DFR, which
Feeder
is also
roads, 367.
So 367. And then you also add the critical roads, mainly GHA. So which is also 312.74. And in 2022, it's only at Fatet Overlay. That has been done, which is 200. When you add all that together, it will give you, and you add it to the answer the minister has said.
I think the main challenge here would be, even if you did all that, and you added, and you added the 1,500 to the 4,263, that would still be reasonable. But I think that the problem is the 4,910 that you are adding, the so-called unpaved roads, which then balloons the figure to 10,000. Because I'm sure if you ask Engineer Muhammad that moving from 4,200 to 5,900 within a year is not that bad. But to add the unpaved road of 4,910, and you see, and that one, he didn't even put it in the June to December. He just said 4,910 up to February.
You see, I totally disagree with Engineer Mahama when he make a sang statement to say that it is not possible within 9 months that you'll be able to construct that kind of route. I disagree with you. You are not.
It is not possible.
No, you actually agree because he's saying that. Let me explain. The 4,900
he said within the 9 months. Yes. It's not possible because you see, you need to read the whole statement because you have clarified.
Yes. So that 4,900.
The minister said
the
4,263 he had given in his answer before adding the 6,412 one. If my colleague here is saying that within the 9 months it's not possible, it's very possible. If you look at the 4,910, apart from the grading, they also say that it is a sport improvement.
That's what I'm saying. Habib, let's not come. He says that 4,900, if it had been to do the full road, he was explaining how you build a proper road.
Yes.
So he can understand that 1,500 can be done. But 4,000 within the 9-month period, that's why he spoke about clearing the road and all that.
Did you check about when they were speaking about this asphaltic overlay reconstruction? You see the figures, 73.
Yes, 30. It's quite small.
That is practical.
So I think the contention here is
what I want them to do
the addition of
it's very possible.
Let's move on. I'm saying that the 4,900 kilometers you are adding is for unpaved roads.
So I want the clarity.
And that include sport improvements.
No, wait.
Right.
Yeah, but you see, an unpaved road, technically, it means that this is a dust road.
It's not
But you see, the document.
So, let me just say,
so
for example, I'm driving from Tamale and I'm going to Nanton. I'm going to Ibrahim Mohammed's place. I drive for 6 kilometers on a paved road. Then when I get to a certain point, I turn right onto a dirt road. That dusty road still takes me to Ibrahim's place, but there's nothing on the road. It's just dust. So, but they probably graded it because before that it was just a bush. But they cleared the road, they probably leveled it, but then there's nothing they've put on it. Do you understand? That's the 4,900.
The gravel roads we still do.
Are you clear here?
Yeah.
So it's a road that can send me to Ibrahim's place, but he hasn't put anything on the road. He has cleared the road, he's cleared the bushes, he's leveled it, so I can drive a car on it. But it's not, he hasn't done anything to the road. So if it rains, for example, that road will still have to need some work.
So you see,
so that's the 4,000 is added.
make statements, a blanket statement to tell you that, look, this is not the case. So if that is not the case, what is the case? What do you think?
I
It's actually
know what the case is. I know what the case is.
What
Can I
is
tell
it?
you?
Because the ministry responsible for that purpose is giving you the figures that this is it. You have been
please,
an
the
engineer
ministry-
of 19
can I
years
come
as you
in,
said,
Bernard?
good standard.
You see,
You should be
Habib,
able to tell
Habib,
us that what is realistic.
Habib, you see, on the set.
That is what government have been able
when
to
you
do.
want to
And I
question-
am telling you
wait,
that the
wait,
minister,
relax.
I think it was my
They
time.
also
I
make
think Alex
mistakes.
Bernard is telling me that it's
The,
my
re-
turn.
the
No, no,
minister,
let
the
him
ministry,
finish.
the ministry makes mistakes. They are-
Everybody can make a
and
mistake.
I'm telling you that if they come and put it and the president speaks as if it has been constructed, you are giving a picture, like Bernard was just saying, that it's a road that has been constructed to its finality. I'm telling you that even gravel roads, when it rains, because some of them they do it like in the camber shape. What do you do that so that when it rains, the water will just run off to the other side? Because they are there to the farming communities. And gradually, government has decided to be doing the cocoa roads, the syndicated loan, that are improved because they realize that they are putting too much money on almost every 2 months, 1 month, going to re-gravel or reshape the road. So for me as a professional, when I listen to that, those roads have been completed, and you don't give me the clarity that you're telling me now, that on paved road are more or less like the one you're talking about, the dusty one. Even those ones, when there's not even bitumen on them, they go bad much so easily when the rains come. And because of the bumpy nature of those roads, almost every now and then, there's a grader, sometimes from the local assemblies,
On standby.
shaping those roads every now and then, because otherwise, in the next 1 month after these roads that are coming, all the 4,000, it's a good sign that we are, at least those who don't have the bitumen can access their farming communities. But let the rains come and see. We'll go back to these same roads again, the unpaved ones, and then grade, if the 4,000 is really what is there, they're going to grade all the roads to improve them again, even without the bitumen. So for me, I said, when you are giving the speech to it will take the president just about 30 seconds to have clarified that. But when you say have been completed, new roads have been completed, I will not take that one.
You wouldn't think ordinary that
So
you
you
could
see,
have
And almost all my professionals who have
guys,
called
I
me
think-
over the
we
week.
are overspending time. Let me just go to Franklin.
I think before you go, I think 30 seconds.
That was
Give me
my
30
time that he
seconds.
has
Yes,
come
yes.
in.
30 seconds.
No, but you
I
have,
needed to finish
all of you have suffocated.
When I do Franklin, I'll give everybody a closing remark.
Oh no, like I was going to just drop it.
No, you see,
if you take the ministry's
Sammy, it's
statement,
my
if you
time.
take the ministry's
Sam George.
statement,
Samuel George,
Sam
I'll
George,
come back to you.
it's my
Franklin
time.
Okujo, you've been listening to this discussion. Is it even a necessary discussion at all? President said 10,800 kilometers.
I'm thinking that no meeting booth.
We are arguing over whether it's true it's contracted 10,800. Ministry now says this includes both paved and unpaved. And it's back and forth. I don't know what you make of it, frankly. Are you going to set some fact checkers on this to check it out?
Not necessarily. I mean, Bernard, if new roads have been constructed, there are human beings who live in the communities where these roads have been constructed. They will be the ones to vindicate the president or otherwise. So for me, I think this exercise is an exercise truly in futility. At the point, I thought we were even going to count footpaths as well. But please, the language was clear. There's a new roads, and if there are new roads constructed, we should see them. My good friend Habib, all you need to do is to find out from your constituents or constituents from colleagues in parliament all over the country whether these roads actually exist, and then that will settle the matter. But we've had all these kinds of conversations, and it's just political showmanship. And because roads have become a very important matter, when it comes to politics. This will not be the last we are hearing of it, really. I recall during 2016, the PPP promised to construct a total of 1,341 kilometers of roads. We found out that about 600 kilometers of those roads actually already existed. So I don't think this is the last we hear of such things anyway.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let me take the closing remarks of them in the studio, and I'll come to e-levy, which is a major issue. So I'll start with Habib. You had your time, it was interrupted. So for you, the press statement clarifies the matter, and the 10,000 is correct, insofar as the press statement distinguishes between paved and unpaved.
Yes, and the little English that I have learned is that if I'm reading a statement, a sentence, and there's another sentence buttressing or emphasizing on the other sentence, I should be able to read it and not take the other sentence holistically. If you look at page 14 of the State of the Nation address, every sentence and other sentence is buttressing the other sentence that the president has said. If you look at it, and I'll just use my time to read it just to explain that part. He said, Mr. Speaker, it is in the road sector that we have registered the greatest infrastructure improvement. That's one sentence. He said, I know the word unprecedented is often used with careless abandon in our public sector, but I use it carefully and purposefully, buttressing whatever he has said in the first. In the last 5 years of my government, so far, more roads have been built, improved, upgraded than any other equivalent period under any government in the history of Ghana, buttressing whatever he has said. Some 10,875 kilometers of new roads have been constructed in these 5 years to buttress whatever he has also said. So let me mention that yesterday, it was my honor and greatest pleasure to have commissioned the Tamale interchange, the first such interchange in the northern sector of the country, which the people of Tamale celebrated, buttressing whatever he has actually said. So you cannot take only one sentence out of it and then interpret it on your way. Okay. You need to be able to read the whole paragraph, understand the whole paragraph, and know that sentence by sentence in that paragraph is buttressing that.
Yes, I think that's a fantastic point.
Upgrading and improving.
So if somebody has spoken and you say you don't understand, and the person has come to explain, and has told you that this includes paved and unpaved, graded. I mean, why don't we just accept it and move on? Why are we doing? We don't agree. It's not a true. What's going on?
I've taken my time to read again in this short period the ministry statement. Do you know that the ministry doesn't clarify anything?
Really?
Yes. The contention here is that, and my position and the position of the minority, is that in that one paragraph, the president sought to convey 3 different messages. First was to convey a message of having a superior track record in the time frame of 5 years as compared to any other government. Second point in that paragraph, and a paragraph can contain more than one point.
Yes.
Second point in that paragraph is that he has constructed over 10,000, almost 11,000 new kilometers of roads. And thirdly, that he has commissioned the Tamale interchange. 3 points in that paragraph. So if one person, if someone says that we should read them all
on roads.
No, I'm not saying one is on pregnancy. They're all on roads. But bottom line is 3 different points on roads. Now read the ministry statement. Apart from where they quote that paragraph, in all the explanation the ministry gave, in reference to the 10,000 kilometers, they never call it new roads. Read the ministry statement. They refer to it as the previous commentary that was done, upgraded, constructed, or maintained. If you read the entire statement of the ministry, nowhere do they refer to the 10,855 as new road. No, they've quoted
No, stay with me. Stay with him. So you are saying that the word new
is never used. It's never used in any part of the explanation to justify the 10,000. Look, I'll read for you in the ministry statement. In the ministry statement, where they try to justify, they say technically, any activity, this is on page 2, just after the table.
Okay.
Technically, any activity on the road amounts to construction, in quotes. Hence, His Excellency's, the President's statement that so far, more roads have been built, improved, and upgraded.
So they were referring to the first sentence.
Absolutely. They were not, they could not come out to justify new road construction because the minister knows.
That's an interesting point.
He knows that the 10,000 kilometers is not.
Habib, come on. Listen to this. An interesting point. He's basically saying that the statement then ends by making a reference to the first statement the president made. Do you understand? Because you read 3 sentences. The explanation in page 2 goes to the first statement, clarifying that it is indeed true that the issue of built, improved, and upgraded. So the evidence seems to support that, but they do not seem to support the new 10,000, even though they still they derive the 10,000. They explain, but see, I think, guys, he derived two things. His statement explains the first thing, but also derives the 10,000 because he also breaks down how the man got the 10,000.
No, but you see, he derives it. Let me clarify. You just asked me a question. Let me answer. You asked me a question. What he's saying. You see, when you go and listen to the ministry statement, I'm not going to read. I'm just going to read the key note of the statement. He said that the statement. The following seek
to explain
the paragraph
concerning the length of kilometers
constructed over the past 5 years as stated in the president's Sona speech. That paragraph contains the new roads he talked about. It's the paragraph.
This thing will never end. This thing will not end.
Can I land?
Yes. So land in 30 seconds. Then he will have the last word.
For me, the matter is simple. If you ask me, Sam George, how many children have you helped in your constituency with education? And I say to you that I have put 500 new children, paid fees and put 500 new children in school. You would expect to see that these were 500 children who were not in school. Okay? And then I took them and put them in school and I'm paying their fees.
Okay.
But if there are children who are already in school, children who are already in school, who maybe when I go and visit, I say, oh, Charlie, today take 20 cedis for your chop money. I cannot come and claim that I have put those children in school. So when you say, and that's why I keep saying that, look, if the president had said that there has been a total works on 10,855 kilometers in my 5 years, we will come back and sit down and say, oh, but half of that is just even unpaved, really not properly engineered roads, and have that conversation. That's a different thing. But when he makes a categoric statement that he has 10,855 kilometers of new constructed roads, look, the word new, and in engineering, the word constructed means that road has been engineered. When somebody takes a grader and just goes to grade and level the ground, without necessarily doing the runoffs along the side, there's no proper engineering. There are paved roads and unpaved roads that are engineered. Okay, there are unpaved roads that are engineered, and there are unpaved roads that are not engineered. So when you talk about construction and saying they are new, we need to see 10,855. Let's call a spade a spade. The president was misled. It won't be the first time.
No.
On the facts he presented to Parliament, and we would have expected more diligence on the part of the president. At least if he had spent more time reading the speech and questioning it than being happy to come and do this, coming to do this to us.
Seriously.
No, you should never. No, but you yourself said it that he could have used 30 seconds to confirm it. Yes. So the president was busy celebrating his birthday and planning how to come and do this in front of MPs.
Open your eyes.
And now we've opened our eyes. Kwame Agboja has thrown a challenge. He has thrown a challenge to President Akufo-Addo. He says that if the president can show, and that's what Franklin Kudjo said, Tolon is your constituency. They should give us the list of roads in your constituency and the mileage or the mileage of the road. Let's do that in Tolon. Out of the 10, wait. Out of 10,000.
Go to his committee and request for that.
Out of the 10,000.
Habib. What does that mean?
I'll come to the
for the fact that the NDC couldn't
Habib,
do it. So they are just over.
Habib.
All right, let me give.
But
I think the point is made.
No, I haven't made my point.
made the point.
No, but he can't keep interjecting me. Then I would also keep interjecting when X is speaking.
We have
let me learn.
We have the E-levy, which I know is very big.
Let me learn in 10 seconds. Oh, but Habib, when you were speaking, I was quiet. Don't do this. Listen, I'm saying that we've thrown a challenge. You say you've constructed
challenge
10,000.
to who?
Habib, please keep quiet.
You are a member of parliament.
No.
I mean, where you get the information, but not throwing
control your
show.
show.
Go to your committee or file a
Let
question.
him finish making the statement, then we can move on. Just finish your statement. Then we
You
go
say
on.
you've constructed 10,855 kilometers of road. We are challenging the ministry and the president to give us not this blanket 4,000 this, 1,000 this. Give us a list of the roads constructed and their mileage. Let them say in Tolon, this is what they've done. In Ningo Prampram, this is what they've done. 275 constituencies. And then we will be able to see whether those roads are new roads or not. Kwame Amboja says if they are able to do that, he will resign as a member of parliament. If they are not able to do that, the president owes us an apology and should also resign.
India Mahama, you have the last word on this. You have the last word.
I still have some issues with the speech. Not the president of
The response from the ministry.
You see, I want to know one thing. He said technically, any activity on the road amounts to construction.
Yes.
So does it mean that, let's say, there are about 10 projects ongoing, and the contractor have just been mobilized to go to site, which is part of the activity of the construction. So it means that when you are presenting it, you assume that those roads have been completed.
So sorry, you are saying that
Technically.
if you are saying that statement that says any activity on the road amounts to construction
hence
cannot be true.
Yes, it cannot be true.
In engineering,
it is part of the processes.
It's part of the process, but it's not construction.
It doesn't give you completion of the project. For you to add the mileage of the project to the co-accumulation or whatever you are accumulating to go and present. So I have a project from Opankor to Nsawam. The contractor has been asked to move to site. So around the Amasama, he has mobilized. For the past 1.5 years, he has not started working. So it means that project has been captured at 17.25 kilometers and duly constructed.
No, that
So the
cannot be.
activity is fine. We have to mobilize the site.
But that activity is technically
after
not
mobilization
construction.
over 1.5 years, the contractor is still there, yet to start the work.
So for you, construction should be what?
Yes, process itself. I mean, doing this.
Do the road.
Yeah, do the road.
Finish
so
it.
that when the minister goes on his inspection, that's why you see project progress. They say 75% complete. And they even go ahead to tell you what are the challenges, the issues that might hinder the progress of the project.
Okay.
i.e. compensation or issue of non-payment.
Okay.
You understand? So, but if you look at a summary by activity that the minister presented to Parliament, okay, look at the third item. It's one of the most easiest to do. The gravelling and regravelling is the most easiest and one of the most cheapest. So if, for me, I don't have all the facts that Kwame Buja is asking or some Canadians are asking. If you look at the third item here, it's 955. You get it? Among all there's only overlay which is more than that on the 2017 to 2021 because the overlay is just that when you come and the asphalt or the road is already there, if it's in a good condition or it's fairly okay, you put the machine or the paver on it and you're just doing the thickness, so you move very fast. Hence the 1,463. But with the gravel, which is the one of the most easiest one to do, that's the second highest here. So if from 2017 to 2021, even with the easiest one, we did 955 kilometers. It cannot be that from 2021 May to 2022 February, you have done 4,000 of that.
Okay, I think that point is very clear.
And I want any of the ministry, I mean those who have reported this one, to give us the roads that you have mentioned and let's vet the road. Because like I told you initially, I am not at the ministry, but I have all my eyes everywhere. On the major roads in this country, all the major, whether trunk road or highway or feeder roads or urban roads or the Sino-Hydro, I have people who will give me information. And sometimes we move, like you rightly said, we move to confirm. You remember what we did about the Nungwa Beach Road? When you asked me whether you're going to finish 9 months, I told you not. It's going to go. It took almost 2 years. So everything we've said about road projections in this country from the time I started coming to your show had never been
So the ball is in the court of the people.
We want further and better control, like I said the last time.
Thank you
Give
very
us
much,
information that we
Ibrahim,
need.
Engineer Mahama. This is still the big issue. We have a 3-topic show for you. When we come back, the e-levy is big on the agenda. The e-levy was passed on the 29th, that's Tuesday. 2 days after the president assented his signature. And the finance minister says by May it will start running. But the minority have gone to the Supreme Court. We'll deal with some of the issues that they've raised on the e-levy. Later on, the Black Stars are facing Uruguay, Portugal, and South Korea. What does this mean for our chances to progress? We are speaking football as well, all on the big issue. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is the big issue. It's your weekend review of the big stories. What a week it's been. Incredible stuff. Football, there's been State of the Nation, e-levy pass, president celebrating his birthday, all of that happening. So let's jump to our second topic. The Parliament passed the electronic transfer bill into law despite a walkout by the minority. Here's a quick report from the floor on what happened. Then I'll come into the discussion on whether this is final, whether something can be done about it, and what it means for financial transactions.
From 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, was cited in Parliament with a high number of the members of Parliament present in the House. The minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, then raised concerns about the enlistment of the electronic transfer levy on the order paper of Parliament because, according to the minority, it was not captured within the business statement for the week.
Every other Friday, we have said that never take us by surprise, because, Mr. Speaker, Parliament cannot be when I conveniently have my numbers, then business can go on. It cannot be. And we will not accept that culture. So when you did not have numbers, you were hesitant. You won't come before the House. Now that you think that you have some reasonable numbers, then you say, go to the business of item 27. Mr. Speaker, you are guardian of our standing orders. And that guardian standing order or on business statement every other week, it is supposed to be presented so that we know what business we are to conduct.
Despite his surprise, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, granted that the motion be moved by the Finance Minister.
The proceeds shall be used to tackle the seemingly untractable and hydra-headed challenges of high youth unemployment, inadequate and poor fiscal and digital infrastructure, including in particular roads, rising public debt, and a diminishing entrepreneurship culture, while maintaining and sustaining the flagship programs. The government has also decided to reduce the rate of the levy from 1.75% of the transfer to 1.5% of the transfer. The coverage of the levy with respect to transfers from bank accounts of individuals has also been clarified as bank transfers on an instant pay digital platform or application originating from a bank account belonging to an individual subject to a daily threshold to be determined by the Minister. Mr. Speaker, at the consideration stage, I'll be bringing the necessary amendments to reflect these changes. Mr. Speaker, as further to this and to ensure accountability, government shall, as part of the media review and annual budget statement, provide a statement showing the quantum of levy collected and the purposes for which it has been applied.
The motion was debated on by both sides of the House.
Today is a very sad day. If the President is listening, today there is a rallying cry from the people of Ghana for him to save us our pesos in our pocket. And the earlier the President will call all his troops that are gathered here, including the Minister of Finance, to go and do the other difficult business in his office and spare us this e-levy, the better it is for our country.
What happened to the can-do spirit of Ghanaians? Previously, many of our tax or revenue measures were being influenced greatly by government partners without considering the rigidities in our own economy. But this is a homegrown tax measure which we believe will go a long way after having considered other equally important things that we need to consider in the economy. We believe that if this revenue measure is allowed to, is passed and implemented, it will go a long way to help us address certain issues that have come up as a result of the global crisis and domestic issues as well. We are looking at this tax, among other things, will help us, one, close the infrastructure gap, two, help us acquire some skills and knowledge and capital for the youth, and also address high debt levels as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the financial sector bailout.
During the second reading of the bill, the minority staged a walkout as a protest against the passage of the bill.
Our economy is tottering at the precipice of bankruptcy, with debt at 351 billion, 81.5% of it. Yet we are told that e-levy is a panacea to solving every economic and social problem of this country. Debt service alone, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance will require 37.5 billion into 2022. How useful and how helpful can a 6 billion be? So, Mr. Speaker, this side, we don't support e-levy. We will not support e-levy. Count us out of it. They can proceed with whatever business they want to do. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, put the question. My colleagues are in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues are in the chamber. I invite you to put the question now. Put the question now. They are in the chamber.
Am I, Honorable Majority Leader, am I to understand that you are foregoing your salvation?
Yes, and what you are here, put the question.
All right. Honorable members, the Majority Leader has adopted what has already been submitted, and so I proceed to put the question. Those in favor of the adoption of the report of the committee in support of the second reading of the Electronic Transaction Levy Bill 2021, say aye. Those against, say no.
The bill was moved to the third stage for amendment considerations and subsequently approved by the Speaker in the absence of the minority.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
An act to impose a levy to be known as the Electronic Transfer Levy on electronic transfers to enhance revenue mobilization by broadening the tax base and to provide for related matters.
Honorable members, the Electronic Transfer Levy Bill 2021 duly read the third time and passed.
Speaking to journalists after proceedings, the Majority Leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, says the successful implementation of the levy would enable the government to generate adequate revenue for infrastructure.
So that was Ni Ayikwe Okai's report from Parliament. Let me start with you, Samuel George, because some people felt disappointed that the minority walked out because they believe you should have stayed and voted. So why did you guys walk out?
All right. This matter has been debated and there have been several angles to it. Facts are simple. We had to make a decision. Leadership had to make a decision. That wasn't easy for them and weigh the consequences. We had 137 members of parliament on the NDC side. But one was with a question mark on him, the Asin North MP, because at the time the proceedings had commenced and the debate had started, lawyers were on their way to file a stay of execution. That process had not been completely filed.
Okay.
Now we had two options. Let him come into the chamber and make up our 110 and have the other side immediately raise a furore and say that there's been no stay of execution filed, and have the scepter of a possible contempt of court and contempt of parliament criminal charge hang on that member. So do we sacrifice him and a possible jail time for a vote, which even after you may have said you have 137, they have 137, so the process fails, and he's charged with contempt and possibly jailed, the court could then say that his participation in the vote was a nullity.
So they could then reduce
our number and still have them go through, and you would have had your member of parliament in jail. Or do you then decide that this should not be the final battle? Let's move this to another theater on the basis of a Supreme Court ruling that had been given 3 weeks earlier. Difficult decision to make. And so I stand with my leadership, and I appreciate the fact that they made. Those who say you should have taken part in the vote and then go to court. If you take part in the vote, there's no basis to go to court. The basis of going to court is quorum, as determined and as distinguished in the Justice Abdullahi case. Because in that case, the Supreme Court distinguished Article 102 and 104 and said that 102 is quorum for commencement of business, 1/3, which would be what, 92 or 93? Then
104.
That 104 is quorum for voting and taking decisions in Parliament,
at least
which
half.
is 1/2 of Parliament, which is 138. Now, the NPP on a good day have 137 members plus the independent 138. If the speaker himself is presiding.
Okay.
And even when you look at the new ruling, which we disagree with, even when the deputy speaker is presiding, they say he can be counted to make 138. Only if all their 137 are present. On that day, and the Hansard bears out, Adwasafu was not present. At the very minimal, she wasn't present. So that gave you 137. Then Ebenezer Kojo Kum, the chieftaincy minister, is alleged to have been in the ambulance that they had brought so callously and heartlessly, put his whole humanity at risk, and put him in an ambulance and bring him to Parliament. And they were waiting for him to appear in the chamber. At the time the speaker put the question, Ebenezer Kum was still in the ambulance. He was not in the chamber. So if you take Adwa Safo and Ebenezer Kum out, and at that time, after we had walked out, and I was walking in the walkway towards Job 600, I met Carlos Ahinkra. So Carlos was also not on the floor at the time the question was put. But even leave Carlos's own, even though the CCTV cameras can justify my claim, at least Kojo Kum was still in an ambulance. Adwa Safo was not on the floor. So out of their 138, they had 136 on the floor at the time that the question was put by the speaker.
Does the person need to be on the floor, or can he be within the precincts?
If you have to be within the precincts, then anybody at all can say I was in the precincts.
I thought you said, I think the speaker said, if you're in Parliament and you are in a committee, you may not be on the floor. But
you need to come and sign the attendance book. There have been days when I have been at committee, public accounts is sitting, and public accounts will sit in the morning, the whole day. And if I'm unable to go to the chamber to sign, I am marked absent. And when I raise the issue on the floor, I'm told that because I didn't come into the chamber and sign the attendance, I did not, the vote and proceedings shows attendance of persons in the chamber. That is why if you take that vote and proceedings, they also attach attendance of meetings and committee meetings.
So let me just get it straight. So let's even assume that they had 137.
Even 137.
Are you saying that 137 is not
137 per what the Supreme Court said in their ruling? Justice Abdullahi. They will need 1/2 of Parliament, which is 137.5, which is rounded up to 138.
So at least half of 275 is more than 137.
Yes, it's more than 137.
So you need at least 138.
It is on the basis of that they filed a motion of rescission to get Parliament to overturn the original rejection of the budget on the 30th of November.
That was 137.
We were 137. You understand me? They claim that 137 did not have the locals to make a decision.
Wasn't there?
Oh, even the Hansard has borne it out. And this is a whip.
So your
she's my heroine for the year.
If the Supreme Court overturned your 137 that you did with the budget refusal, they should be able to overturn.
Per their own ruling. What has gone on in Parliament constitutes the same illegality that the Supreme Court distinguished on the 9th of March.
So let me deal with him on this.
For those who say that it was an arranged or fixed march.
You have explained it. But then, is this your understanding of what he's saying? He's saying that when the budget was overturned, rejected by them, you guys were not in, and they were 137. And I think the Supreme Court agreed with you that we didn't have a quorum for decision. So that's 137 7 plus something. We didn't have that.
Yes.
They're alleging that based on what happened last week, 29th, they had left. You guys had the chieftaincy minister there, but Adjua Safo wasn't there. So it's 137.
Okay.
And that 137 is still not enough to pass it. That's the point.
The preamble, before I get into the details of the issues, is that the e-levy has been passed. It's now an Act 1075. And there is nothing that actually stopped Parliament, and what we have done, there's no illegality about it. Now, based on his submission, we come under 3 legs to say that the e-levy was passed. And whatever is happening in the Supreme Court is a case they have filed. Let me go into the nitty-gritty of the issue. One, I'm going to build on Sami's own assertion. In Parliament, if you are going to vote, we only vote, or even in Parliament and in Ghana, we only vote, one, to elect people into offices. That's where we do election in Parliament. So if we are going to elect the Speaker, we are electing someone to be the Speaker of Parliament. If we are voting to make someone a minister. But if you come and look at our standing orders, and the standing orders, if you look at Standing Order 113, and for the benefit of this program, I'll read Standing Order 113 so that we will be able to appreciate or see exactly what I am saying. And that Standing Order 113 will differentiate between what happened on the approval of the budget and what happened in the passing of the e-levy bill. On the approval of the budget, what happened was that the NDC had come to reject the budget. And when the question was put on the finance minister engagement and other things, then the speaker said, the ayes have it. Then Muntaka challenged and said what? They should do a head count. And when we walk out, when they did the head count and the speaker was doing the announcement, the speaker said the ayes 0 and the noes 137, which was captured in the vote and proceedings by Parliament. So that means that there was a number. In the passing of the e-levy bill, was there any number that is recorded that this number said yes and this number said no? Because in Parliament, unless we are electing someone into an office, the vote's supposed to be yes and no and not counting of numbers. Unless it is challenged. That's why I bring you to Standing Order 113. It says that when the question has been put by Mr. Speaker at the conclusion of debate, because there was already conclusion of debate on the e-levy, the vote shall be taken by either yes or no, provided that Mr. Speaker may, in his discretion, instead of declaring the result on the voice votes, call for a head count. So what this means is that if the Speaker said all those in favor of the moving to the next stage say aye, those in favor, those against say no. So if you say aye and the Speaker is confused, he doesn't know whether it's a yes or the ayes have it, he can say you should do a head count. But if there is none like that and the Speaker said the ayes have it, then it means that it's a yes and no votes. Then the same Standing Order 1132 says a member may call for a head count or division if the opinion of the Speaker or if his opinion on the Speaker on the voice votes is challenged. So if the Speaker has said that the ayes have it and a member doesn't agree with the Speaker, you challenge it and tell them we should go to division or we should do a head count. That's when you will be able to ascertain the number. But our Standing Order says that when debate is concluded, the question to be put,
but let me ask
the
you,
voice
but does that defeat 104? Because
no, I'll come to 104 too, and then based on Sami's explanation, and you will get it. This is on our standing orders. So what happened on that day? The Speaker is supposed to put the question at the end of the debate that has yes or no, and the yes has it, and that is it. And there's no number recorded that when you go to the Supreme Court to say that you are challenging that ruling, what number are you going to say that they voted against it on the yes and no votes?
No, but you can say
what voices can you hear? No, and you see, they are mixing certain things on the Supreme Court interpretation of 104. Okay. Justice Abdullahi didn't go to Supreme Court to tell the Supreme Court that this number of people were taken and this number of people were taken on vote, whether this number is qualified to take a decision or this number is not qualified. That was not the reason why he went to court. He went to court purposely to say that if the first and second deputy speakers can actually be added to form a quorum in 102, that is 92, or 104 in decision, which is 138. That was the reason why Justice Abdullahi went to court. And the Supreme Court had made it clear that the member of parliament for Bekwai, who is the first deputy speaker, represent the good people of Bekwai. For that matter, he has the right to vote. The member of parliament for Fomina, who is the second deputy speaker, have the right to vote. That was the interpretation the Supreme Court did. The Supreme Court never did an interpretation to say that 138 take the decision.
In doing that, they clarified the difference.
I want to build something.
Decision quorum and normal quorum.
You'll be able to see.
Okay, you come to your third point.
My third point is that I advise, Sam is my good friend, even though he's a very difficult person to deal with. He should stop. You see, he explained something on this platform. Yeah. And let's get into the nitty-gritty of that. He said that day, we were 137 and they were 136 because of the Asim North thing. Yeah. And he said their lawyers, he said it here, their lawyers were on their way to file a stay of execution, and that process was not filed yet, so they didn't want the man to come in. So invariably, the man was not a member of parliament until the stay of execution was put. So it means that then, the time we were taking the decision on Article 104, we had 274 members of parliament in Ghana, because there was no stay of execution filed on that guy. The High Court ruling that said he was not a member of parliament, that said they should conduct a by-election, stood. Half of 274 is what? 137. So what are you talking about?
Oh, that's an interesting
So what are you talking about? So based on the constitution, he has said.
So you're saying the material time the vote was taken.
Ghana had 275 MPs. Ghana had 274 members of parliament.
Because the state of execution had not been filed yet.
Has not been filed. For the matter, he was not a member of parliament. That is why he didn't come into the chamber. Some have said it here. If he was a member of parliament, why didn't he come into the chamber? Because then there was no pending appeal of state of execution on the High Court ruling that said he was not a member of parliament.
That's an interesting angle.
When you take him out, we will be left with what? 174.
274.
And per Article 104,
you are
half of 274 is 137.
So even if Adjoa Safo is not there,
thank you.
You are okay.
We are okay. And why did they walk out? According to him, they walk out because they think we were 137, they were 136, because Asimov could not come into the chamber. Because he was not a member of parliament.
What's your response to that?
My response to that is this is political mathematics and gymnastics.
Oh.
Ghana has a parliament. Our parliament is a representation of 275 constituencies. As to the number of members of parliament is a determined matter. Parliament of Ghana. I mean, what you're suggesting is that if a child was writing a social studies exam on Tuesday morning, he should have been answering and had said we have 275 MPs. The question was, how many MPs do you have in Ghana? And he wrote 275. The teacher will mark him wrong. The Parliament of Ghana's number is not a flexible thing that shifts based on death or censure. And so if there's a by-election, until the by-election is done, then so when the late Boakye Jaku died in the last election, until there was a by-election, are you telling me that Ghana's parliament was 274? No. There are 275 members of parliament with one seat vacant. But then it does not mean that there is no member of parliament. You should actually be telling me.
There's none.
Wait. You should actually be telling me. In fact, what we should.
Habib, your point is clear. I want him to respond to it.
Habib, when you're speaking, I'm very quiet.
Go on. I'm trying to explain.
In fact, in Ghana today, we should actually have 276 constituencies because of SAL. Okay? Because they are the ones who are not represented. But for those that have already been determined, it's 275. So whether there is a stay of execution is not against the constituency. It is not against the fact that there is a member of parliament for that constituency. It is against the individual person. It is against the judgment of the High Court or the Court of Appeal. Is not against Asin North or the legality of Asin North. It is against Mr. James Jechi Kwesen, the person. So that has not taken away Asin North as a seat in Ghana's parliament. So Ghana's parliament remains 275. That's the point we need to make.
It means that the Supreme Court will have to decide on the meaning of the last sentence in 104.
No,
because
it
says, except as otherwise provided in this constitution, matters in parliament shall be determined by votes of the majority of members present and voting.
So did you say majority of constituencies? They said majority of members.
With at least half of all the members of parliament present. So the Supreme Court will have to tell us whether
the members of parliament.
That's at the material time that the voting was done. Did we have 275 or 274 members of parliament? I think they will clarify that. So let's move on to the e-levy itself.
That's an issue that will be clarified.
Issues.
Just one point on the legal issue that he raised is that Habib in his explanation seeks to suggest that if a voice vote is not a decision made. And that
Who
the voice
votes? Nobody challenge it.
But I actually think that's not really necessary for us now. I think we should move on to the.
Habib, when you are speaking, I'm quiet.
Yeah, I'm thinking that let's move on to, because I think the key issue has been.
No, I just wanted to address the fact that in Parliament there are 3 ways of making decisions: a voice vote, vote by division, and secret ballot.
Yeah.
So even a voice vote is a decision being made by the House.
Yes.
And so the point is, and I have a lot of respect for Mr. Speaker. But again, when they make the comparison of what happened when Mr. Speaker did the counting, if you take the procedure for division, Mr. Speaker did not count to know that we were 137 because he wanted to count us for any reason. A motion, a request, or the motion for a vote by division had been moved by Honorable Muntaka.
Yes.
The process for a division is that first and foremost, the clerk at table must do a head count before the vote is now taken on the decision. So, at the time that the speaker put the question on Tuesday, there was no motion for a vote by division. It was a voice vote. So the speaker had no there was no requirement of the speaker to do a count. When you say when we go to court, how does the court determine the number of people in the chamber at the time? The court will take the votes and proceedings as approved by the House for the day. That vote and proceedings, as amended after we realized some shenanigans from the clerk's office, was amended yesterday to show that there were 274 members present on that day.
273.
On that day.
Yes.
In the chamber.
Yes.
Only Adjosafo was marked absent.
No, Quincy was marked absent too.
Very
well.
well. 273. Good. Now, Haruna Idrisu, the vote and proceedings will be read in court in conjunction with the Hansard of Parliament. The Hansard of Parliament has Haruna Idrisu saying, Mr. Speaker, my 137 on my side, all members on my side, can no longer proceed or take part in any further proceedings. So it then means that his side is walking out. So you would take the number 136 out of the 273 that you say. How many were left? That is the number that were left in the chamber. That to be determined. And when people say that when people were still in the chamber when the question was put, let me give you a clear example. When the STX motion was tabled before the House, then minority leader, now majority leader, Chairman Sambonsu, told the speaker that the minority at the time will not take part in the conversation any further and asked the minority at the time to walk out. When they walked out, the then minority chief whip, Frederick Opariansa, remained in the chamber. He was left in the chamber by way of strategy to raise a question of quorum. Because again, at that time, the NDC may not have met the quorum requirements. When he rose to raise the issue of quorum, then majority chief whip, Alfred Agbesi, stood and said, then MP for Ashaman, stood and challenged his locus to catch the eye of the speaker. And said, your side has walked out. So you remaining in the chamber, you are a visitor. You no longer have a right in the chamber. And that was upheld. Because once your side says you are moving out, again, you know that it is against the parliamentary proceedings for you to take part in a proceeding of parliament when your back is to the mace. Or when your back is to Mr. Speaker. You cannot vote when you are standing. Except there is a head count. You sit in your position and you are counted. So you had members who had their back to the mace and to Mr. Speaker, and you want to tell me that for the purposes of voting you are counting them.
Let's move on.
I mean, all of this, we would interrogate it in court.
Franklin, do you think the parliamentary argument about procedure, strategy, we will not vote, we will go to court, are those things obfuscating the real issue here, which is that majority of people, at least sampled, do not think the e-levy should pass, but somehow, until the Supreme Court determines the matter, Parliament has contrived to pass it. So
one side of Parliament.
Well, but that is Parliament. Parliament is Parliament. So frankly, from civil society, do you understand all these things we are talking about, or really, the real issue is that whatever happened, the e-levy has been passed, and therefore the discussion has to be whether it helps us or not, instead of who was wrong, who is right, who is legally correct, and all those things.
You know, the incidence of a tax falls on everybody. And in this case, the representatives of Parliament, representatives in Parliament definitely means that whatever happens in Parliament by way of a decision would have meant that they either agreed or disagreed. I mean, the e-levy conversation has been quite divisive. It's divided the country entirely. And I think that for me, irrespective of the challenges in Parliament, I rather look at the future of this tax, and it seems to me that the future of the tax is a little bleak. To the extent that outside of Parliament, many people have had cause to complain about first of all, the timing and the rate of the tax itself. And many examples have been given of other jurisdictions where there were challenges as well. So much as I appreciate the shenanigans in Parliament as part of the political process, and it seems to me that beyond Parliament, the real issue is whether Ghanaians are convinced enough that the current tax rate of 1.5% is something they are willing to accept. So I think these are early days yet. We may have had the challenge. The government would have had the opportunity to pass it, irrespective of what happens again at the Supreme Court. And I feel that the e-levy has had some legitimacy crisis, which must be dealt with definitely. And that's notwithstanding the fact that it may be a democratic tax, simply because many people use the medium, the platform, and so it may be useful for people to pay. I think crucially, the challenge for the administration right now is whether they are going to meet their own targets, whether people are going to accept the tax as it is. I certainly don't accept the percentage that has been imposed by the tax. I think somewhere between 0.5 to 0.75% would have been a good start, at least. But the 1.5% is pretty high. So that's the situation confronting this e-levy.
All right. Your honorary vice president wrote an article for the Africa Report. And let me read his final 2 paragraphs for your comments. It says, all in all, the knee-jerk approach to introducing a tax with such potentially systemic effects has robbed the country of the opportunity to carefully design things in a way that would have balanced the legitimate fiscal needs of the state with the need to maintain positive consumer sentiment. The government will soon find that revenues extracted from e-levy may well be offset by losses elsewhere in the tax portfolio. If this were to happen, the fiscal consolidation it is so eager to sell to international investors so that it can return to its expensive borrowing habits in the international capital market may, in such circumstances, prove somewhat elusive. He says, it will not work. That is his conclusion. Of course, he wrote this in his personal capacity. Is that the view you share?
Well, the point that has abundantly been made by Bright and is that clearly the conversations leading to this e-levy itself was fraught of a lot of challenges. I mean, there wasn't proper consultation and the like. And to some extent, I agree with him that the passage of this bill actually erodes the opportunity to undertake critical revenue measures in other aspects of our economy. And by that, if you look at the concessions that the minister gave in terms of the reductions in some of the expenses not too long ago, I define them as baby steps because they did not go far enough they did not go far enough as regards the flagship project, where a chunk of our debt is actually spent So for me, I think we were robbed of the opportunity to undertake some proper rationalization, i.e. the flagship project, because clearly speaking, those are the profiles for which the debts have been attracted and for which there have been no significant reviews ever since they were started. Had there been any proper reviews, now there be the Fiscal Council engaged to do proper cost-benefit analysis, would have seen that this conversation about revenue rationalization or indeed revenue mobilization would have had its proper discourse and necessarily through the e-levy.
All right. Thank you. Let me come to back in studio. At this time, I'll start with Samuel George. We noticed the minister has reduced it from 1.75 to 1.5 in introducing the levy. Yes, we know there's a Supreme Court case, which we don't know how long it will run. Minister thinks by 1st May, the levy should kick in. You are a key member of the Communications Committee, so you work with telcos. you understand this mobile money space. Just what is your prediction? So let's assume that the court case is not happening. Let's just assume that from 1st May, Ken Ofori-Atta GRA begins to implement the e-levy. What do you predict will happen? Is this disaster for the telcos? Is it consumers opting out? What's going to happen?
There's going to be chaos in the space. And Bernard, I have done some digging in the past 3 days to understand the architecture that's going to be used to do this, because I've read the law. That was the bill that they prepared to have passed. It's very interesting. But some people want to just milk this country dry. And they're individuals, and I'm using your platform to serve notice to them. I know them, and I will mention their names in coming days. But those who are contriving to make money, those who are contriving to basically grow fat, and this one, most of them are not even ministers or political appointees. But persons in the Ministry of Finance and GRA. I know you. I'm coming for you. And the companies, already I have mentioned one of the companies that they're using on social media, ExpressPay. And the attempts to use that company to milk the state by claiming they are building a platform to carry out the monitoring of the transaction. Bernard, and to let them know I know what they're doing. They intend to use AWS.
Sorry, is what you are saying in any of the things that were said in Parliament?
No, I'm telling you how they intend to implement. They've not come to Parliament to tell Parliament how they intend to implement. And that's even a problem. You want to implement this, there's a technical committee in Parliament. You've not come to Parliament. Because even among the technical persons there, they are telling them what they want to do will not work. They are using a cloud system sitting in Northern Ireland to do processing of financial transactions. It's against our laws. Even companies in Ghana, Ghanaian fintechs that are doing aggregation and handling of transactions for passport payments and stuff that is mobile, they need to get national security clearance to just be able to go in, process and come out. They don't even see the data. The data is by law supposed to sit with NITA. You've gone to contract AWS not to even use a servered system, but a serverless system for our transactions to be running in cloud. So a boy sitting in Pakistan running a server system, a cloud system, and drops into the AWS system can have access to our financial records in Ghana. It's not sitting in Ghana. That's the system that ExpressPay is seeking to pilot for them using AWS. I'm mentioning specifics, and I'm challenging them to come out and say I'm lying. And the individuals behind this, we know them, because, Bernard, you know what they're trying to do, and that's why I said there will be chaos. What they want to do is that when the system is built in such a way that it's going to run, the APIs will run algorithms. And when I try to send money from myself to Habib, because there are exemptions in the law, in those milliseconds, it's supposed to run a number of queries. It's supposed to query, is Sam George sending money to another account owned by Sam George? If yes, don't charge. If no, he's sending to Habib, then it runs another query. Is the amount in excess of 100 Ghana cedi or below? If less than 100 Ghana cedi, don't charge. If it is above 100 Ghana cedis, charge. All of this in micro milliseconds. If I'm sending from myself to Habib, and even Habib is using a merchant account, that opens a new layer of questioning. Is Habib's account a private account or a merchant account? Look, it's a messy thing. And the fact, and what scares me is that this data is not sitting here. It's sitting in the cloud. AWS has most of its servers in Northern Ireland. What should
they have done?
You should look, and I hate to do this because everybody knows my position on the Kelny GVG issue and the Kelny GVG platform. But if you were going to go ahead to do this, to make this work, what you need is a monitoring platform.
Hey.
Yes. Is the only way, the only way to do this is for you to take this tax like CST.
Okay.
Where the telcos are the ones who are running their platforms. The telcos do the billing. and then in a 28-day cycle or 30-day cycle or 14-day cycle, come with the report and make the payments to government. You can even ask them to pay upfront, and then you do reconciliation with them. But you can only do reconciliation when it's running on a monitoring platform that you can monitor, not on a cloudless system. You understand me? And me, my argument here is that my argument here now. No, I'm not saying them. I'm saying that they have a platform. And let's bear in mind now, if everything that has come to Parliament is true, that platform right now should be the property of the NCA.
Okay.
That platform should be the property of the NCA, and what they should have running with Kelly now is an O&M. But if that platform that we've paid so much for already, it has all these challenges, and I'm on record to have stated all my challenges with that platform and how that procurement was done. But if taxpayers' money in excess of 100 million has been used to get that platform for NCA, why shouldn't we be putting it to good use?
NCA's property.
Running that service for the GRA. And so on that platform, you are then able to track. And as we speak right now, all of the traffic on that NCA platform, which is managed by Kelny GVG, the common monitoring platform we have in Ghana today, sits with NITA. It's compliant with law. So my argument is this. Why do you then want to now create, and we complain about what, $100 million. Now you're talking about another $40 million, 241 million Ghana cedis. That is still being found as a way to buy this software.
Does the way they implement the tax need to come to Parliament for some level of approval? Again, we're assuming that
it doesn't appear so. Parliament is rising on Tuesday. They say they are implementing on the 1st of May.
But there's no time in between. When Parliament is coming back.
No, we are coming back after 7 weeks.
So the thing you are saying, where did you get it from?
I play in this space.
No, I mean...
I play in the space. And don't forget that some of us were the ones who raised with Okujetu Ablakwa the 241 million, and I put out the company. I said it was Express Pay.
You are making allegations on a public platform. Yes. I just want to know, is it like a document that has been signed, sealed, and delivered that they are using? Is it a strategic paper?
Okay.
Is it a statement that you heard?
So the Controller General, Commissioner General of the GRA, Amish Adai,
yes,
yesterday set up a committee to carry out the technical evaluation and carry out the procurement of a system. Because if you read the bill they passed, Section 6.2, strangely in there of that bill, they state in there that the GRA cannot contract a private entity to do revenue assurance or monitoring.
Yep.
So now the GRA, because originally...
Recovery of levy for 6.1. For
6.1 and 6.2.
For the purpose of enforcing the collection of levy, the provision of the Revenue Administration Act 2016, Act 915, relating to collection and enforcement shall apply. 2. The Commissioner General shall not contract a private service provider to provide, at a fee or commission, any revenue monitoring or revenue assurance service for the purpose of this act.
Yes.
But then it says in 3, that subsection 2, what I've just read, does not preclude the GRA from requesting the conduct of a special audit on revenue accounting by an entity listed in a fair schedule.
So what they intend to do is they are creating a smoke screen. And that's what I'm saying, look, there are people in the system who are not happy with what is going on and who are talking and who are saying, look, this is what we're doing. And we're running cross-checks and seeing that it is a fact. What they're trying to do is saying, okay, if you've blown the alarm that we're going to give Express Pay a contract, and on the Express Pay one, there had been meetings between the Ministry of Finance and fintechs, including Express Pay, where they were told point blank that Express Pay will run this, and other fintechs should go and work with Express Pay. This is public knowledge in that space. Everybody knows this. Anyone who is in the telecom space. Before the 241 alarm blew from the budget, that meeting had happened. Good. Happened at the Ministry of Finance conference room. Now, what we are saying is that because they've brought in this and they are saying, okay, now government must own it. Express Pay is building a platform. They are going to have some kind of tender. That's what that technical committee has been set up to do. Have some kind of tender to buy a platform, because GRA doesn't have a platform. So somebody is going to sell a platform for the same 241 million, and then GRA doesn't have the technical competence, and that's why they've brought 6.3 to say that they will need to do special audits and then give an O&M contract. This is some people sitting down and thinking that, look, Charlie, money buy EMDD. It won't happen in this country.
Okay. Are you concerned about the revelations he's making?
Yes, before I come to that, just the A-levy itself, I think now that it has been passed, It is something that was part of the 2022 budget. It was the revenue component of the 2022 budget. Haven't passed the budget, haven't passed the appropriation. It was difficult government realizing this revenue because the e-levy was not passed. Now that it has been passed, it will come to broaden the tax network, and it will also enhance revenue mobilization. If you look at Ghana now, in terms of our performance, in terms of revenue to GDP, we are least, even if you compare ourselves to the West African sub-Saharan country. And if you look at our tax to GDP, in Africa, we are actually not doing the best. So this is something that will come and help government in terms of realizing it. But the issue my Honorable Sam George have raised, it is something that crop up, that we heard about the government or some other people trying to engage other contractors to be able to pay some 241 million Ghana cedi for engage a third party. If he know, and if you follow the media space, you will see that the time that in 2021, I think December or so, the time we had agreed that we were bringing in the e-levy under a certificate of agency. At that time, if you read the bill that was brought in, it didn't add that clause. But when Honorable Sam George and co raised the concern that has to do with government bringing in someone to pay some 241 million. That is why when you go to the recovery on clause 6 was introduced. So it was only introduced at a later part, at a way to be able to regulate and be able to direct government not to be able to do that engagement. So that part he has raised, government was able to listen to it. So when we did our own analysis before reintroducing the bill, that has to do with the reduction from 1.75 to 1.5, and then for us to also engage the telecos to reduce their own by 0.25, then we were able to reduce to introduce this very clause to make sure that that is regulated. And you have read it before.
So you are listening to some of the submissions.
We
if
did,
it's necessary,
we did.
you can make amendments.
No, we have done that already. What the concern is raising now,
the court is raising about the fact that they want to sort of railroad a private company.
No, but you see, if you look at the recovery of the levy, it's clear, and you have actually been able to read it for the purpose of enacting the collection of the levy, the provisions of the Revenue Administrative Act 2016 Act 915 relating to the collection enforcement the Commissioner General shall not contract a private service. So if he contracts somebody, and as he said, and it is in the known, and we have evidence against that, he's in clear breach of the law or the bill, because that provisions have been made. And then assurance of services for the purpose of this, I said, subsection 2 does not include the Ghana Revenue Authority from requesting the conduct of a special audit. But you see, if you come to submission of the report on 7.1, it says that no, I'm coming. It will say that the Ghana Revenue Authority shall submit to the minister quarterly report on the performance of the revenue from electronic transfer levy not later than 1 month at the end of each quarter. And then 2 says that the minister responsible for finance shall submit to Parliament a report on the funds accruing from the electronic levy transfer in the mid-year review of the budget of that fiscal year, covering the first half of the fiscal year, and within 2 months after the end. So what this is trying to say, a lot of measures have been put in this bill to actually address
we will leave it there. There was a quick question for you. Somebody says, Bernard, does the cloud service of the mobile network sit directly in Ghana? Having your apps on AWS cloud doesn't mean anybody elsewhere can access them. That's laughable, to say the least. What happened to firewalls and multiple layers of security? If AWS is not safe, what makes NITA safer? This is from somebody in the industry.
Well, our laws insist that everybody's service, and that's why MTN has its data service here in Ghana. When you transact any financial transactions in Ghana, must be cleared locally. It must not sit on a foreign cloud server. So in the first instance, having our financial transactions processed on a cloud server on the cloud, not even the server, on the cloud, outside the jurisdiction of Ghana is in breach of Ghana's data protection laws and our financial...
Which law is that?
The Data Protection Act.
Maybe you should give me the segment.
Yes, I will. And just a quick one. Just a quick one. Just a quick one. Just a quick one. You know, it's interesting that right now they're saying that some of the things they say is that Sam George should stop talking because Sam George filed an amendment. I filed 10 amendments in December. when we were in the chamber and they were passing the thing, they took a couple of them. 7 is one of the amendments that I had filed, where they had done this and there was absolutely no accountability in there. No accountability.
So the credit is that they are listening to you.
They're not listening to us. If they're listening to us, they won't even do the E-levy at all. Because you say you should delete the whole thing.
Well, thank you for your time. I want to move to something else. I'll use frankly 1 minute to just.
I want to talk about football. So
frankly, just 1 second.
All I'll say to the football people is we are going to Qatar, but they should not chop the money.
What Samuel George is saying is interesting, Franklin, that we already have a platform which is supposed to be owned by the NCA. So you don't need any new company to do anything. Now, I know you don't agree with Kelvin GVG, but his point is that if for nothing at all, we have a monitoring platform already. I don't know whether that rings a bell, because I know you, when they mention Kelvin GVG, even if you are sleeping, you wake up from your sleep.
I'm in the same school with him.
Franklin, quick comment on that.
Well, clearly, I mean, the procurement issues are very important. And like I say, procurement is the route to enrichment in this country. And so once Sam has raised it, I think it must be addressed. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Franklin Kujo. Thank you, Honorable Habib and Engineer. Did I say Engineer Samuel George? I mean, you are free to stay to talk about football. We just have 20 minutes, but I know we ran out. So thank you for coming. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about our FIFA group and what we have to do to Luis Suarez and his people.
Somebody must promise me they will buy too.
Welcome back to the big issue. We're ending on a happy note. The Ghana Black Stars pipped their arch rivals Nigeria to a spot at the 2022 World Cup. That's our 4th World Cup appearance since 2006. Really exciting times for Ghana. The draw was held yesterday. 8 groups. Ghana is in Group H. And the seeded team is Portugal. We have Uruguay, who are the only previous World Cup winner in the group. And of course, we have South Korea. August Naimfo is a former striker. Played for many teams for many years. He was the best striker in Ghana for at the time they were called Goldfields. He moved to different parts of the world, played in the Swiss league, and he's happy we have qualified. He's in the studio to talk to me about that. Welcome, Augustine.
Thank you very much.
Neil Ante van der Poel is a former Minister of Sports. He is an MP for the Dio, and he's also a good footballer. He had a nickname which I will not mention here, but he was actually a very difficult player to defeat during his footballing times. Neil Ante, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the big issue. Well, he's there. His mic is off, so Neil Ante, please unmute your mic and say hello to us. But just first question on the qualification. I didn't have a lot of hope until I saw the first leg. And then when the first leg came, I began to hope small. Is that the same feeling for you?
Not really, Bernard.
Bernard, are you hearing me?
I can hear you. Thank you for joining us, but Augustine's on the floor now.
Let me say good morning to the viewers. Not really, because I've played the game before. I'm a Tenka person, and so I always have my hopes high. It depends on how you prepare for the game. And so I was very convinced in my spirit that on a good day, putting the right materials together, we could get the result.
Can we attribute the 2-legged victory over Nigeria to the technical team?
We can. But credit should go to the players, because instruction is passed on to the players, and it behoves on them to actually put it together. But this time around, I want to say the coach realized that at a point, even the second leg, when the last minute we're trying to delay or play acting, one of our players fell down and he had to tell him to get up because he was almost at the end of the game. And so you can attribute to this the success.
So the players did well, but the technical team was the difference. Because essentially the same players, right?
They are, yes.
For the AFCON. Minus 1 or 2.
Yeah, 60-70% of this team were all part of the AFCON squad.
Did you notice the difference between the way they played the Nigeria games versus how we played the AFCON? Is there a difference in the way they played?
Huge difference. We played with the tactical mindset. We played with all the time advising themselves, the technical men, advising themselves and also knowing the way forward. Chris Hutton was sitting by me at the Kumasi Sports Stadium, and throughout the game he was writing down. And just before halftime he had to go to the dressing room, because that is where I always talk about appreciating scouting. Scouting is before, during and after. The after is like you analyze whatever has happened and then you plan going forward. And so the return leg, we had a lot of things analyzed because he was there writing a lot. At a point, I needed to pass an information to what I've seen, and then he said, yes, I've seen that, so he had to put something down. And so technically...
So a lot of thinking went into the two games.
Yes, and that's where it worries me, because I asked myself that CK was there, Kwisapi and the rest have been there before. Is it that they did not want people to come around to help them, or they were being blocked for bringing people? Because football is so big now that you cannot have few people as technical head of the team. You should have a lot of technical men together. Antonio Conte came to Chelsea and Tottenham with 8 men from Italy.
8 people?
Yes. Apart from the British people who are part of his technical
team. He came with his a team of 8?
Yes. That.
Wow.
So I am coming with this people because I know that this one will going to give me this, that one is going to give me that. And so when the FA accepts that I'm giving the job, I'm bringing Bernard, Benjamin and all these people to come and help me, the end of the day we are looking for results. And so, yes. So you have Otado, you have Chris Hughton, you have George Boateng, you have Didi Dramani, you have Richard Kingston, and for just 2 months.
It's a solid team.
Yes. So they have to judge and make sure that they get it right.
Wow. I'll come to the group. But Nilante, what do you make of the difference in our performance? I was thinking it's purely the technical team and the different approach. What do you make of the difference between what we did in AFCON and the 2 Nigeria games?
Well, thank you very much once again, Bernard. But let me say this. Our AFCON performance can be defined in 2 ways. Our earlier performances and then a different posture entirely in the final match. Our posture in the second half of the final match was exhilarating. Was the sort of performance I would always want to see of our Black Stars team. Very, very, and that's exactly what I saw in this match against Nigeria. Ghana and Nigeria matches have always defied the form guide. It's always been the team that is more determined, the team that is more angry for success, that wins. So you can assemble a Ghana-Nigeria team. Their play and everything will be the same. But that extra edge, that extra fervor, that extra fervor, that extra energy that team will gather, and Ghana is what will push that team through in the match. So what I saw about this was a group of boys who were determined and very angry to qualify, more than the Nigerians. And let me say this, it's part of human nature. Our earlier team has a lot of people who have achieved something before. Some of them have been to the World Cup before, just as these Nigerian players. Most of them have played in the World Cup before. So when it gets to that level, you've reached what we call normally in economics saturation point. You understand? And so diminishing returns will be set in. With our boys, majority of the boys this time are people who have never been to the World Cup before, and they also want to be there. So they were much more angrier than the Nigerian players in this particular match.
Good. Let's move to the second thing. Now we've qualified for the World Cup. We are in the Group H. What should we do? I'll start with Augustine. Should we just maintain the team, progress, or some people think, bring more players, get the best, so you can do well? What should we do next?
I think the core of the team should be maintained, and then we have to build on. Why am I saying this? Because between now and November, a lot is going to go under the bridge. Some players might be injured, some might not be in form, and so between now and November, it's the duty of the coaches to scout and bring the right materials.
But they should maintain the technical team?
You know, the contract that was given, I mean, the communique issued out there was that they were in charge for these 2 matches against Nigeria. Going forward, I don't know if they've sat down with them for them to continue, but I wish that they should continue.
They should continue?
Yes.
You like what you've seen so far?
Yes.
Nilante, do you think we should maintain these 4 guys? Or in fact 5, I have Richard Kingston, Masood Ramani, Chris Hughton, George Boateng, headed by Otoado, and Richard Kingston also for goalkeepers. Should we maintain these 5?
Absolutely. Just as Augustine said, I think they brought something into the team. Sitting down and watching Otoado, I've seen somebody who is much more trained than those we've had in the past. He's gone through some training. The way he conducts himself, the way his general posture there is also telling a story to the players that this coach standing there is possibly more angrier than me, the player on the field. You could see it from his demeanor. You could see from his demeanor. He was very, very aggressive. He was so much in character to see the team succeed. So he transmitted the message to the players. Like Augustine said, in the second half, there was this player who was fouled. The referee played on, and the player was lying there. You saw the energy with what he shouted on the boy, asked the boy to, and look at the speed with the boy ran back. And when the boy ran back, he didn't just run back to go and stand somewhere. He ran back and went and tackled the player who had the ball and took the ball away from him. So you could see he's brought something into the team. I know George Boateng, I've always known him a very disciplined, technical player. And you know, in the past, you interviewed me before, I've said that I've known Chris Hughton for a long time. And I know he's a good head. With him there, he as a technical director or something, I know that he will give Otto Addo and the rest the required knowledge and experience he has garnered over the period coaching in the Premier League and with some top clubs, players and clubs. So I think that this team is good. I think that team is good. What they need is a confidence of a sustainable contract and assurance that you are taking this job from here to there. I'm not just looking at the World Cup. I'm looking at 5 years, 10 years project. And with the young lads and with Chris Hughton there, I'm telling you, if you consider and say that, look, we are looking at the next 2 World Cups. How do we build a team to achieve the objective of winning the World Cup once? Who are the players we will need? What are the objectives we are setting ourselves? What sort of system of play are we supposed to adapt now? And what do we do? So someone like Chris Hughton will not just be with the Black Stars, but after they play the tournament and possibly the Black Stars go on, what is going to be his interaction between him and the local coaches who are handling some of these players in the various things?
Okay.
What sort of clinical advice will he be imparting to them? Okay. So it must be a whole holistic approach to our next tournament.
Let's talk about the group now, Augustine. Portugal, Uruguay, South Korea. This team is very young. Apart from Andre, nobody has been to a World Cup. So it's a young team. When you saw the draw, what was your initial impression?
I mean, for me, if we want to go far, then we need to beat the best teams. And so Portugal, our first game against Portugal, is very dicey. But at the end of the day, I've said, between now and November, a lot is going to happen. How the coach select his players and put them together should be the key. Ronaldo is like 37 years going to 38. I don't think he will still have what it takes. I mean, he's a good player, yes, but by that time, he's going to slow down a bit. We have to go with our plan. We don't have to think about what they are bringing at us, even though we are going to play against them. And so we need to put together a very strong team, and it's the world stage. The game is not like African terrain where players have to go with double feet and all that. It's a bit slower here because of the climatic condition and all that. Over there, it's going to be fast. It's going to be much more open. It will be about how we strategize and then move. We bundle every time information. Formation is just a format, a static one. The system of play is the issue. How you are going to structure your team around the system you intend using in the tournament, there's something in coaching we call motoric reaction. When you spark your car, it's not just you spark, there are other things working in the engine to make the engine move. And so it comes to football, it's motoric reaction. When you have the format, how that format is going to react based on the format or the system you want to play is what we have to look at.
So do you think what are our chances of qualifying out of the group? Or it's too early?
Yes, it's too early, but it's also dependent on the first match and the subsequent. We lost 2006, we lost the first game against Italy. Because we ourselves did not believe we were going to pass to and then against Czech Republic, the first 5 minutes we scored, and then they were confused. So maybe we can lose against Portugal. I'm not saying we are going to, but then the second match and the last match should be the key. And so let's have a very good result against Portugal, be it a draw or whatever, and then the rest.
We build on that.
Yes.
So you are saying there should be a strategy for the thing.
You should have a plan. I've mentioned.
But do we have the materials that can do well?
You see, that's where we always get it wrong. There's quality and there is teamwork. Now, I will say, and we situate these current players in the context of the previous. And that's where we always get it wrong. Because we don't have the same materials as we did in 2006 and 2010. Let's make do what we have now and build on. So, yes, we can say we don't have quality, but we can have a strong teamwork. Like currently, Otoado came. All of a sudden, the blaster is good. 2 months down the line, we were not that good. And all of a sudden, and it's the same players. So what happened? So the coach at any given time, that is if Otoado and his team is going to continue, how they look at what they have. And he stated that some players who have refused to even perform or come to play for, he has not written anybody off. It means that, are we lucky? We should have Odoi, Hodgson comes to play for Ghana, Tariq Lamptey, and the rest who he can convince to come on board. I think it will be marvelous.
We should cast the net wide.
Yeah.
Milante, what do you think? What did you make of the group, and how far should we cast the net, or should we just go with this team?
Well, Bernard, let me be frank with you. As patriotic and as Ghanaian as I am, I still think that this is one of the most difficult groups I can play in. I'm saying this because I have been before, and Augustine will tell you, when sometimes we are going into a tournament, you need to put behind you the fact that this team has got these players and got this player. But the truth of the matter too is that you also need to account for all those things and know how you approach the game. So it's not going to be easy. We've had an experience with all the teams before. Our latest match against Korea, they beat us 8-1 or something. We played against Portugal before. All the 2-3 times we've met them, they've triumphed over us. We played against Uruguay before at the World Cup, but for extra wicked, manipulative, we could have qualified over them. So we will have a logical advantage when we are playing against Uruguay, for example. You understand? And because these are people we have played before. At that time when they have all the best and all those things, we nearly won, but for Suarez. So you have that psychological edge. But against Portugal, if you don't have a sort of technical team that will psychologically build up the players, how is our team going to stand against people like João Felix, Moutinho, Jota, Ronaldo? And psychologically, if you don't work on these players and you don't have an Amate who has played with them all this time in the Premier League, it will be difficult for you to really. So we have a lot of work to do. We must analyze our team. We have some deficiencies in our team. Let's do a SWOT analysis of our team and know what we can do. What sort of system are we going to play that will be more convenient with the sort of players we are assembling? It's not about positioning. It's not about formation. System. Because if you have a tactical and technical discipline to your system, you are very conversant with the system, no matter how the play goes. Once you remain with your system, it will work for you. You understand? And the situation has to be the fact that whether we like it or not, we are going to play a group of players who have experienced benches. The Portuguese bench is one of the most experienced benches, and the Uruguayan bench. The Koreans have tinkered a little bit with their bench, but it's still the old experienced coach there. So whether we like it or not, all the teams in our group will have a little bit of advantage over us as we approach this. But then, like Augustine said, until November, there's a lot that we can do technically on our approach, our psychological build-up, and everything we need to do in order to go into this season, not as let me say, holiday makers or a whipping boy, but as people who can stand their own against these established squads.
Let me ask the controversial one. Everybody's talking about Salisu. We see him in the EPL. We see what he's doing. The most interceptions, the second best tackles. He's a really great defender, left-footed centre back who can move the ball. I mean, a lot of teams are looking at him. Ghanaian fans are not happy that since we asked him to come, he hasn't come. So they're saying we should not bring him. What should the coach look at? You said there's a difference between teamwork and talent. But when you look at Salisu and what he does, what do you think we should do? I'll start with Augustine.
I believe if we all agree that we are looking for the best to take to the tournament, currently, by what we all observe on television, he's one of the best Ghanaian players out there. The coach gave a very good interview account of what he went there to speak to him, and the guy has his own reason for not coming. And so, once again, it's up to the coach. The coach made a statement in the dressing room after our game And it said the president of the FA had given him the opportunity to work by his own understanding of the game. And I believe this should be it. If the coach at any given time, that is if we are going with Otto to the World Cup, and he feels strongly in his spirit that Salisu can be part of his team, I don't think we should look at what...
We should allow Otto to take that decision. We shouldn't pressurize him.
2006, most of the players, they don't even play one qualifier. I can give you one player, Alex Techimensa. He never played 1 minute, but he was part of the final squad that went into the World Cup. Larry Kingston played all the matches, including, but he got a red card. But we never believed that we're going to even pass the first round, because he was going to miss 2 matches. He could have taken to play the last game because he played the qualifiers, but he was not taken. Until today, we don't understand why. And so we should allow the coach.
Let's leave the coach.
Yes.
We should leave the coach to decide on Salisu, right?
I totally agree with Augustine. But Bernard, I also reiterate the fact that we need every good Ghanaian player out there. We are going to the World Cup. We are not playing qualifying series. We need our best. Forget about who said what and what this person did. Look, we have a lot of players who are playing wonderful football there. Alfred Duncan, I've said it many times. That is a player I want to see in our team. So many other players. Who thought that Dennis Ode will be in this team? Who thought? So every Ghanaian out there who is playing so well, who is good, for all you know, this team that we are depending on, by November, some of them will not be available. There could be injury. Some of them will have lost form so badly that there's no way they will be in the team. Who knew Dennis, for example, the House of Folk player, will even be wearing jersey and sitting on the bench? But because his performance in the local league, 1, 2, 3 matches, excited everybody, the coach considered him. He wanted to see him. So we need every good Ghanaian player out there. If tomorrow I become a better goalkeeper and I'm in form more than Wallacott, why not? I should be there. Sometimes I don't like people, bringing their nepotism and patronage into our game. Allow the technical men to sit down, have that glossary, to go around, analyze all our players. And that's why I'm saying I'm happy I have someone like Chris Hilton, who will not be biased, who has his own mind. He has handled senior players, experienced players. He has handled big teams before. He can do a very good, as Augustine said, scouting across the world of our players. Confer with Ado and George Boateng, and let's see who and who fit the sort of system we want to play at the World Cup. To be frank with you, there may be a player who may be the best player, but also if that player is not a sort of player who can fit into the system we want to play at the World Cup, I will advise that player is not picked. Because that player, if he's not tactically disciplined and will not come and conform to what the coach will want them to do, will also bring a disruption into the technical cohesion of the team.
Thank you very much.
It's important that we allow the coaches, we allow them to do their work.
Thank you, Nilante van der Poy, MP for the Dio, a sports fan, former Minister of Sports, Augustine Ahimfo, striker, football analyst, and also a businessman. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
We'll be seeing you a lot during the World Cup because I'm sure your mind will be useful. Earlier on, I had in studio Habib Idrisu, MP for Tolon, Majority Deputy Whip, Samuel George, MP for Ningo Pram Pram, Engineer Mahama, Civil Engineer Franklin Kujo, President of Imani. Thank you for watching The Big Issue. I sat in for a regular host, Godfred. We'll be right back next week with another exciting show. Stay with City TV. If you're listening on City FM, the news is next. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.